So say it, yes or no?
I'd like to.
Please, yes or no?
As I've said time and time again through interruption, they're there to protect law enforcement,
do they have
ICE
the ability
officers
to arrest?
who are trying to do their job, deporting illegals who were allowed in by the previous administration.
So they cannot arrest and detain citizens of the United States, the uniformed military.
As we've stated, if necessary, in their own self-defense, they could temporarily detain and hand over to ICE. But there's no arresting going on. And you know this better than you're trying to play political games. There's no arresting of U.S. personnel.
Of the U.S. military against members of the protest. Have you authorized U.S. military cyber tools to investigate people participating in these protests? Yes or no?
Hello, Patriots. Today, we're diving into a heated congressional hearing that exposes the dangerous overreach of the radical left and their attempts to weaponize the military against everyday Americans. The Constitution is under attack, and the very principles that make this nation great, freedom, justice, and an apolitical military, are being eroded by weak leadership and partisan agendas. What happened during this hearing is a perfect example of what's wrong with the current administration, and it's time we take a stand. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to Conservative Mandate and hit that notification bell. Like this video, share it with every patriot you know, and leave a comment below. Your voice matters, and together we can fight to defend American values. Watch until the end, because I'll be breaking down how we can protect our military from being used as a political weapon. Now let's get into it. Senator Slotkin grilled Defense Secretary Hegseth about the shocking deployment of 4,700 troops to Los Angeles, without the consent of the state governor. This is the first time since 1965 that troops have been sent to a state against its will. Why? Because the Biden administration continues to play political games, ignoring the Constitution and using our military as pawns in their radical agenda. This isn't about protecting Americans. It's about control.
Senator Slotkin.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I said in your hearing, when you had your confirmation hearing, that my biggest concern with you at the helm was the potential use of the military in ways that contradict the Constitution or that taint what I hope we all want, which is an apolitical military. And when I asked you about whether you would accept an order that was actually given to your predecessor, Secretary Esper, Trump's SecDef, to deploy active duty troops against unarmed protesters and to, in Secretary Esper's words, shoot at them, shoot at their legs, you said this was all theoretical. Here we are, a few months later, you've deployed 4,700 troops to Los Angeles and against the wishes of the governor. And my colleague across the aisle was right. It is the first time since 1965 that we have deployed Guard troops without the permission of the governor. In all the instances he laid out, the president had sent in the military to protect protesters, not against the protesters. So you may dismiss it, but I feel like this is a fundamental issue of American democracy. If you love your country and you want an apolitical military, then it should be the last resort, not the first resort in our country to use them. So to get to the non-theoretical, have you authorized the uniformed military to detain or arrest protesters in Los Angeles?
Senator, I would just start by saying you're not a protester if you're throwing concrete
100%.
at law
Arrest those
enforcement
people,
officers.
throw them in the jail, 100%. But what you're doing is something different. Everyone knows this is a political decision, right? So we don't trust that you're using the best interests of the military, certainly, and of democracy on top of that. So have you given the order? That's all I want to know. It's not theoretical. For the U.S. military, not law enforcement. They can arrest all day long. That's their job. Do they have the ability, the uniformed military, to arrest and detain protesters currently today? It's a yes or no thing, authority.
It's sort of amusing the extent to which the speculation is out there. These troops are given very clear orders.
Then what is the order? Then list it out for us. Be a man, list it out. Did you authorize them to detain or arrest? That is a fundamental issue of democracy. I'm not trying to be a snot here. I'm just trying to get the actual, did you authorize them to do that?
All of these orders and what they're sent there to do are public. They are there
so say it. So say it. Yes or no?
I'd like to.
Please, yes or no?
As I've said time and time again through interruption, they're there to protect law enforcement,
Do they have
ICE
the ability
officers
to arrest?
who are trying to do their job,
Okay.
deporting illegals who were allowed in by the previous
So
administration.
they cannot arrest and detain citizens of the United States, the uniformed military.
As
is
we've
that right?
stated, if necessary, in their own self-defense, they could temporarily
Okay.
detain and
Have
hand
you-
over to ICE. But
have
there's
you
no
given-
arresting going
have
on.
you-
And you know this better
Have
than
you
you're trying to
authorized
play
the
political
US
games.
military
There's
to
no
use
arresting
cyber
of U.S.
tools
personnel.
of the U.S. military against members of the protest? Have you authorized U.S. military cyber tools to investigate people participating in these protests? Yes or no?
Certainly in no way that I'd be aware of.
Okay, that's good. I love that answer. That's great. Have you given the order to be able to shoot at unarmed protesters in any way? I'm just asking the question. Don't laugh. Like the whole country. And by the way, my colleagues
What is
across
that
the
based
aisle.
on? What evidence would you
It
have
is
that an
based
order
on
like that
Donald
has ever
Trump
been given?
giving that order to your predecessor, to a Republican Secretary of Defense, who I give a lot of credit to because he didn't accept the order. He had more guts and balls than you because he said, I'm not going to send in the uniformed military to do something that I know in my gut isn't right. He was asked to shoot at their legs. He wrote that in his book. That's not hearsay. So you're poo-pooing of this. It just shows you don't understand who we are as a country, who we are. And all of my colleagues across the aisle, especially the ones that served, should want an apolitical military and not want citizens to be scared of their own military. I love the military. I served alongside my whole life, so I'm worried about you tainting it. Have you given the order? Have you given the order that they can use lethal force against honor? I want the answer to be no. Please tell me it's no. Have you given the order?
Senator, I'd be careful what you read in books and believing it, except for the Bible.
Oh my God. So your former predecessor, I guess that's not enough for you. Okay, on Iran. I don't think there's a debate. There's like a cat fight going on in your own party about whether to go after Iran. Have you commissioned any day after planning? So any force protection, any use of ground troops in Iran, any cost assessments? Because I don't think we doubt what we can do as a country in the attack. It's the day after with Iraq and Afghanistan that so many of us have learned to be so deeply concerned about. Have you authorized day after planning?
As I've said, we have plans for everything, Senator.
Okay.
And I would also reiterate how we began, that there will be a classified portion of this 15 minutes after we adjourn.
The senator asked a critical question. Have uniformed military personnel been authorized to detain or arrest protesters? The secretary danced around the issue, refusing to give a clear yes or no. But here's the kicker. He admitted that troops could temporarily detain civilians under the guise of self-defense. Patriots, this is a slippery slope. Our military is not law enforcement, and allowing this kind of overreach sets a dangerous precedent. And then there's the shocking revelation about former Defense Secretary Esper. According to Slotkin, Esper was ordered by Trump to deploy troops against unarmed protesters and shoot at their legs. Now, let me be clear. This is a blatant attempt to rewrite history and smear Trump's legacy. The radical left is using lies and exaggerations to push their narrative and justify their own unconstitutional actions. But it gets worse. Slotkin asked if military cyber tools were being used to investigate protesters. The secretary denied it, but can we trust that answer? Under this administration, we've seen time and time again how they abuse their power to target political opponents. The question isn't whether they're doing it, it's how far they're willing to go. And let's talk about the real issue here. The Biden administration's obsession with tearing down everything that makes America great. Instead of focusing on real threats, like securing our borders or dealing with the crisis in Iran, they're deploying troops to silence dissent. They're turning our apolitical military into a partisan tool, and it's an insult to every man and woman who has ever worn the uniform. At the end of the hearing, Slotkin accused the secretary of weak leadership and called for his resignation. And you know what? She's right. If the Biden administration wants to use our military to push their radical agenda, then they don't deserve to lead. We need strong leaders who will stand up for the Constitution and defend the values that make this country great. Patriots, it's time to take action. Share this video far and wide. Let's make sure every American knows what's happening to our military and our freedoms. Comment below with your thoughts. Do you think the military should be used this way? And don't forget to subscribe to Conservative Mandate for more hard-hitting truths. Together, we can fight back against the insanity and restore America's greatness. Stay strong, Patriots. The fight is just beginning.